Python John, aka Armtillery. All right, and I think we're live. Probably. If we get any chats or
What
something
up?
like that, I'll know we're live. All right, after trying to get this to work for a hot minute, how are you?
I cannot complain. I'm jacked for this weekend. Super excited. How are you?
It's gonna be fun. Doing good. Doing great. All right, so I wrote a bunch of stuff I want to talk about. First of all, before we get to the May 21st stuff, let's talk about what happened. AZ State. What'd you think of it?
Oh man, I was super impressed. First and foremost, I had went to and that was my first real tournament, I guess you could say. Really my own tournament. I've done some local tournaments, but back and Tim were in charge of the first one a year ago, and I thought that was big. I thought that was a big deal, just from the people that they were able to get at that event. And this one, this last month, past month, blew that one out of the wall. It's hard to compare whether or not the events even event. This still seems the best event that I've seen this year. And at it, I was able to, so yeah, life changing from an arm wrestling.
Oh yeah, it was pretty sick. And what'd you think of the pay-per-view?
Even more of a surprise. I'm pretty adamant about going all in for the weekend and going to the event. So I go to the pay-per-view and had my fedora on and I was dappered up.
I saw that.
Yeah, all that, it was a great time, man. Tim, an amazing job as far as making it athlete friendly. You're able to kind of mingle with everyone and talk with everyone prior and then after the matches. And each match, had its favorite, I guess you could say, or I guess underdog. But I think there were surprising moments in every single one of those matches, and that's what makes this sport amazing. Is you think you know what's going to happen until it goes the other way, and then you're like, "Holy shit!" And so it was awesome. It was once again unforgettable.
Yeah, dude, that tournament is when you go to like other tournaments like that's basically like the standard, I think now. It's like we're basically going to be spoiled from now on.
You set the bar.
Oh yeah, Tim always sets the bar real high.
Yeah,
Have you gone to the his Washington State tournament?
No, but I'm going to. So I believe in December he's throwing it, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do plan on there. Will be my first traveled tournament, so getting out of the state, grab some different arms, which I look to. But mainly, I want to see. He talks about this new venue that he's putting together that he's got, and how he talked about this event bigger than the Arizona one. And I was telling him that's hard to even. So I can't miss it, and especially it's right there. It's neighboring states. It's not far. So why not make a trip out of it and do it? So.
Exactly. So are you gonna train any differently than for that one than you did for Arizona State?
I've about that recently. I've been doing a lot of lifting in the gym for other body parts than your arms. So I've been working a lot of back, a lot of chest, a lot of shoulders, and I feel like it translated to my side pressure. I'm as far as my background goes, I'm a basketball player, so I wasn't a strength competitor really at all until mid 20s, 25, 26, when I started to like lift weights just for the heck of it. But when I started arm wrestling, I was sure that you could just get away with it just being good at hand and wrist. And you have to be a genetic freak in order for that to be the case, which I am not. So
Yeah, I don't think either of us are really like especially gifted. I think that's a good thing though because it makes us work harder.
Well, absolutely. And I think that I have and you may be in this, I'm not sure your history as far as the sport goes, but I think that I'm in a unique position, and I was in a unique position when I started. A lot of the group that I started with about a year and a half ago, I was in an advantage of because I've been watching the sport for almost a decade now. It's been 7, 8 years that I've been watching it on
Damn,
YouTube.
okay.
Yeah, and I've been following it, I would say, for at least 5 years now. As far as like learning techniques, watching it, becoming familiar, definitely over 7 years now. But as far as caring, researching, things like that, it amplifies once you're putting yourself in the athletic position or you're competing. And so I think that I kind of had a step advantage because I was a nerd of this stuff. I was already, enamored by learning this kind of stuff before I even got to the sport. And then it fell in my lap. So, oh, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm messing with this thing. Um, all right.
Okay,
So
cool,
like,
cool, cool.
so
Don't
so
scare me.
why didn't you get it? Yeah, why didn't you get involved in the sport earlier then? Was there just no you didn't know how to do it, or I know it was before armbat.
Probably, if I'm being honest, probably I wouldn't say fear, but probably doubt. I would say thinking that that's not for me, thinking that's not a sport that I would excel in, or something that really when I first started watching it, I really still did have aspirations of being a basketball player. Um, Knee injuries took me out of basketball, and the realization of what it's going to take in order to rehab what I had done and the level that I had already gotten to just seemed like such a hike. And I was in love with the sport, don't get me wrong, but I did not have the financial means to keep getting surgeries and keep doing physical therapy and rehabs and all these things that were necessary to be at the level of basketball that I was trying to be at. So much different, um, uncomparable as far as the two sports goes. And so I was really focused still, 8 years ago, 7 years ago, I had a 35, 34-inch vertical. I was jumping out the roof. I was dunking. I was in a good position to go still be an athlete. And it didn't work that way. So I actually look at arm wrestling as kind of a blessing because you look at so many of these guys, Todd Hutchings, Devin Larratt, John Brezink, that we watch that are later 50s and they're, in their prime. So that gives you a little bit of hope thinking that maybe you don't have to, kill yourself right from the beginning in order to be, so great at this. Basketball is no question a young man's sport. And so if, you're 30, 32 and you're trying to make a comeback, good luck, so.
Well, definitely. I mean, same as football. I mean, I played football and I wrestled and things like that, but I was garbage at all of it. So, but I was good at lifting.
Yeah,
And then just like you, when I started arm wrestling, I'm like, I'm gonna be. I don't. What if I go in there and I fucking suck? You know,
right.
then I'm just gonna be disappointed, right? But it's like, what's the worst that can happen, right? I mean, you could break you could break your arm, but
Definitely the worst thing that could happen.
I remember my first practice. I mean, you went with Dustin, but I went with Alex McManus, and I couldn't even move his freaking arm. I was like, this. I don't know about this stuff.
Right. It makes you feel so strange. It makes the pains that you get in the first weeks of like a real practice will definitely turn a lot of people off, especially if they have a physical job. Like the story I've heard so many times from newer guys is, oh, I went to that one practice and then I couldn't go to work the next day, or I had to call off, or I couldn't do this at work, and I'm never doing that again, And I'm like, well, this sport is definitely not for everyone. You know what
Yeah,
I
I mean,
mean? And I think that's kind of where my unique situation came into my advantage, where I guess I kind of expected to be in some pain. After I had watched it for so long, I was like, there's no shot I'm going to just go and everything's going to be fine and dandy. I was so, uh, what's the word? Curious, I guess, about the sport that pain wasn't really at the forefront of my mind. It sure was when I got home and the next day, but I had so much fun at practice and from learning things that wasn't enough to turn me off. And I think when you don't get introduced to the sport in the right way, there's a good chance that happens. And so I think it's all about how you look at the sport before really getting involved, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I think the way we were both introduced to it is with decent teams, relatively speaking, and where they're just not like, I'm just going to slam your arm every single
Right,
time. Where we
right.
kind of learned a little bit, and we kind of would be able to apply some of it in other practices and kind of go off on our own, kind of.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's important. I think that information in this sport passed on is super, super important. And not everyone has to be looked at as a trainer or a coach or a teacher or this or that. You know, if it helps you, then use it. If you can see where it helps other people, but it doesn't necessarily translate it to you, let that person do it, preach their thing, and just go about your business and do what works for you. But I think that there's no harm or no foul, and everyone trying to help each other, and especially in today's day and age, like we've talked about so many times. Now the fact that you can get on this platform on YouTube and talk to other people, see what they're doing over across countries, whatever it may be, it changes the game. So
Yeah, like I was telling you before, when I started like a year and a half or so ago, I was watching your channel. I was watching Dustin Allen's channel, and I'm like, fuck, man, this is awesome. I want to be on YouTube too. I want to be in the
yeah,
background and then go on the table and then whatever. But I mean, during COVID, I mean, you kind of had to see if it was worth it to do it,
right, right.
and yeah. But
Oh
all right,
man,
man.
and
On to
something
let's
a
talk
weird.
about your event, May
You said
21st at
the
5
event. Talk
p.m.
about the event.
Let's talk about the event. This is your area of expertise.
That and I got a match, so I'm excited. Um,
Perfect.
so yeah, this coming Saturday, May 21st, it'll pop off at 5 p.m. Now, before I get into it, do you know about East versus West and
Oh,
what?
what time is it and stuff like
Yeah,
that? I was looking at that, like, oh, maybe ideally we can watch it during the practice, but it's
right.
like 11 a.m. or 12 p.m., something like that.
Okay, okay.
I'm gonna
Well,
look
I
it up
can
right now.
guarantee it's going to be a long fucking day of arm wrestling. But what I didn't want to do is I didn't want it to be during the exact same time. And I was pretty sure because it was over in Turkey or, yeah, in Istanbul, I believe, that it was going to be during the day for us here in the United States. So that's why I
Hmm.
kind of wanted to throw my thing closer tonight. It's also in Arizona, so it's hotter during the day. So 5 p.m., usually about 7, the sun goes down. From 5 to 6, we're going to be having our 6 main super matches, which I'll go over here in a sec. But then at 6 o'clock, about 6:15, we're going to kick off a practice. I've got probably 3 or 4, at least 3. I'm working on my 4th table right now, and I've got a ton of space, huge backyard. Uh, there's going to be food, there's going to be drinks, there's going to be music. My neighbors come over, people from down the street see what's going on. They see arm wrestling tables. It's always an awesome time. There's a ton of different levels of arm wrestling. You've got pros in the house. You've got lower level amateurs. You've got so many different varieties of styles of pulls, hooks, top rollers, people who will uh, teach you, people who will talk shit to you with a beer in their hand. It's all love. It's amazing. It's a family, and that's kind of the environment and the vibe that I like to put on is, you know, it's competitive, and that's the part that we're going to have with these super matches that are going to continue. We're going to do them every 2 weeks, but at the same time, I want everyone to be able to look forward to a space, an arm wrestling space, where everyone can come together enjoy each other's time, test each other, but then learn, and we can put it on YouTube and show states like Florida, states like California, um, the Midwest, that Arizona has it too, man. We're right here just with you guys. We don't really have somebody with a camera in our face, so I'm gonna try to do that the best as I can. But as far as the matches goes, we're probably gonna kick it off with my man Dan versus Juan. Dan was one of my very first training partners. Huge beard, jiu-jitsu practitioner of over like a decade, probably one of the strongest hands I know of as far as my training partners go. So he's going to be facing Juan Neary, who is out in West Side, not with West Side Arms, I'm sorry, but he's with Death Grip Arms, but he's over on the West Side. I've trained with him a few times, real tall, long levers. He's got definitely the experience edge on his side because he's been.
I think
arm
he's got
wrestling
4
really
years of
long.
experience, right?
I think he's got over 3 years of experience. So, I mean, Dan and me have only been arm wrestling for like a year and a half. So I would guess that the experience factor would go to Juan. But in my personal disputes with them, I would say the strength edge was going to go to Dan. I'm excited about that one. We'll see how it goes. We're going to do all these matches best of 3 so we can run through them. Probably next up would be me and Martin. The last I talked to Martin had somewhere to be that day. That might have been last weekend, but either or. I want to be cameraman for the majority of the night, so I want to get my match in and out of the way. Hope you're ready, man. I really do, because I've got something ready for you. I'm excited for that match. I plan on winning that one. Not losing one either. So we'll see how that one goes. Next after that, my guess would be Jake versus Ben. And I'm interested to know your thoughts on that match, actually.
Ooh. All right. Well, I think Jake is one of the guys watching the stream, so I'm all about Jake for this one.
Okay. I love it.
Shit. I haven't arm wrestled Ben too much, but Jake, whenever we get into the straps, I'm like, what the fuck? I always say, like, how is he so good in these straps, right?
Right.
Although I don't know how good he is in slipping. So
That is true.
maybe I think if he strategizes correctly and slips, he'll definitely win.
Yeah.
But if he gets in there and he's like, I want to test my arm and I want to test my hand strength and stuff like that, maybe that's not the best way to go. I always strategize matches uh, based on how easy it is to win a particular way. I'm not trying to test myself if it's a match. If it's a money match, I'm winning as fast as possible. It
Right.
doesn't matter.
No effort.
No, yeah. The least effort I can give is the ideal.
Right. 100%.
Yeah, and Jake is definitely the underdog, and he knows it.
You think so?
Yeah, he just said in the chat, actually, I'm glad I'm the underdog. The win will be sweeter.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. See, that's the kind of the way I look at it, is because Ben had that showing at Arizona State. He's got more years of experience as far as how long he's been arm wrestling. People know of him in the space, the scene of arm wrestling. And Jake is kind of this newbie coming onto the scene. And like you said, strong as dick. I mean, weird how in the straps, like, there's these humans, how they're just different. You put the strap on them and they're just different. It's weird. I am definitely not one of those humans, and I will admit to it. I love being outside the straps. I don't mind being in the straps, but there's some people who seek it. And to me, the people who seek it, kind of like you said, why wouldn't you do everything damn near you could to learn how to slip and get myself there immediately? Because I would definitely agree with you. I would think that Jake has the advantage in the straps. Ben just dropped his table off to me like a little bit ago, and I actually told him that. He was telling me how I think the match would go, and I told him that. I said, look, man, I think you got the hand advantage, but I think he's got the strap advantage. So we'll see who can be a better arm wrestler and get to what their lane or what they need first,
For sure. Well, it's like when I had my match with Jesse the very first time, and my strategy, I was pretty new at the time, and my strategy was, I'm going to slip and get into the straps. And when I got to the match, I've never heard of Jesse before, and people are like, oh, you haven't heard of Jesse before? I'm like, oh, fuck. Fuck, he's gonna be good. And then,
Yeah, he's gonna know what he's doing.
yeah, and then I was like, oh fuck, I've never practiced slipping. So I was like, how am I supposed to get in the straps? I've never practiced. And then when I tried to slip, I like fucked my wrist up. So I was like, from then on, basically, I was like, if you don't strategize, that's not the way you're supposed to do it.
Right, right. This is definitely a thinking man's sport, and I think also coming from somebody that watches so much damn arm wrestling on YouTube, when you watch people slip in arm wrestling, it looks so natural and easy. You're just like, oh, I could do that. I'll just do that when I get up there.
Yeah.
Until this monster has a hold of your thumb, and you're just like, wait. I need you to let go so that I can let go. You know what I mean? It's definitely not as easy as it looks.
Well, it's like trying to slip with a guy like Nathan, right? He's got a hand twice the size of yours. It's strong as
Right,
fuck, and you're
right.
like, I'm gonna slip. You're not gonna slip.
Not going anywhere.
He's not gonna let you slip. He already feels that you're trying to slip.
Yeah. And so that's really the beauty of this sport is, do you know that your opponent is going to try to slip? And if you do, are you going to try to stop them? Are you going to do everything in your power to try to win the match, even though it's probably uncomfortable? You don't want to have to grab someone's thumb all janky to try to, you know what I mean, to finish the match. But if it gets you a win, if it gets you a pin, you got to do what you got to do. So
What other matches are on the card?
So I think then after, so that, what is that? That's me, Martin. That's Dan, Juan, Jake, and Ben. We've got, there's one more that I'm not thinking of. Oh, the one I'm most excited for. Rad Rob versus Kirby.
Ooh, okay. That's going to be a good one.
I'm going to tell you how I think this goes because it's only a couple days out, okay? I think Rad Rob hits hard enough, he can get a flash pin. But
That's true. I agree with that 100%.
I think there's no question it's going to the hook. I think it's going inside both of them. I don't think there's either of them that are going to slip outside to try to go to the straps. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see that happening. I see it just shooting inside both of them. And I think that if Rob is precise and quick enough, he gets a flash pin. And then I think round 2, Kirby's like, no, not going to happen. Catches it right before the pad and then starts swinging it back. We see a 1-1 going into round 3, which is literally everything I want to see at all these matches. And besides mine, I want to see competitive matches, and that's how I see this match going. And so that's kind of why I put it together. Is why I don't want to be at all inside ever, but I love watching it. I love watching the grind. I love watching the effort, and both these guys don't mind it at all. So should be, I think, what could be the best match of the night.
And this one's going to be a right-handed match?
Yeah, Rob had reached out to me and said that he thinks that his left is more superior. So I'm going to ask them day of and see if they want to do both. If they do, then we're going to do that at the very, very end of everything so that it's kind of like off the beaten path. I'm still going to record it and stuff, but it'll kind of just be extra. I don't think it's going to be for rankings or anything. It'll just be because the two athletes want to. But I don't want to do the whole, okay, you guys are going to go up right-handed. Okay, now you're going to go up left-handed. It's kind of boring for the viewers to watch the guys arm wrestle for that long, especially if they're wars. And then not only that, but we do kind of want to get them things over and done with. So
yeah, for sure.
So that's kind of my view on that one. And then the co-main event is going to be Nathan versus Tito, which happened at Arizona State and didn't happen technically. Did you watch that match?
Yeah, it is fouled out.
Yeah, and when you watch him, I mean, there's a little bit of swaying to each side, but there's no like definite winner.
It was kind of like dead center the whole time.
Pretty much, and I don't think that either of them look particularly confident, which tells me that we have a match there.
For me, that match kind of looked like Tito was. I don't think Tito has gripped up with Nathan, and I think he was trying to battle his hand, and they kind of like equilibrated in the middle. And so we were talking to Tito after that, and I think he's got a better strategy now.
And just like you said earlier, the last place you want to fucking be with Nathan is in his hand. I mean, the dude is like 5'10", and his hand belongs on a human that's like 6'10". It's weird. It's super long. His fingers are thick. He's got a huge thumb, just a mitt of a hand. And he's a mechanic. So his hand's definitely not weak either. You know what I mean? He's got a strong ass hand too. So the thing with Nathan is he lacks the motivation for what it takes to be good in this sport. I think that's kind of what happens, and kind of like you talked about earlier, is when you're gifted and when you're, you know, as what's the word, genetically gifted for something like this, you almost feel like you can run through guys without having to work as hard as you and I do. But when you put the fire in someone like Nathan, it's a scary dude. I told him that. I said, you're a scary dude when you're training, man. I mean, a scary dude, because, you know, I've only seen Nathan get mad on the table, like competitive mad, a few times. Other than that, the dude is extremely laid back, chill, just grab your hand and just, you know what I mean? He doesn't show too much emotion. But I've seen the dude. I mean, he's one of the dudes I've been arm wrestling with since the beginning of my time. He's a little longer than me, but a year and a half I've been training partners with that dude. And one of the most potential, the guys with the most potential in this sport, if he does what he needs to in order to be there. So this will be a good test for Nathan because I did light that fire in his ass when I talked to him about this match. You know, I told him, I said, look, this is it. You know, start taking it seriously. You get looked at as a front runner. Tito is no slouch. Tito's been arm wrestling almost a decade. I think, like almost, if not 8 years.
He's been around for a long time. If you look up old videos of like John Berzink at Eric Wolf's house, you'll see Tito in the background,
looking like a fresh Puerto Rican at 17 years old. You know what I mean? Looking like a buck 50, 60 maybe. You know what I mean? Like, I know exactly what you're talking about. And that's what I'm saying is experience edge is got to go to Tito. I would even horsepower edge has got to go to Tito. But
you would think so, yeah.
What I saw was him get hung up by that big mid of Nathan's. So whether or not Tito strategizes different or Nathan knows to use that mid of his, we'll see how it goes. Either way, super excited for that match. I'm gonna go.
Who you got? Who you got for this one?
I was gonna say I'm gonna go 2-1, and I'm gonna go Tito. I'm gonna go Tito. Nathan's my boy, and I love Nathan. But I think that based on what I saw from the last week, Miguel and Tito training together, and like what you just told me.
I saw his Facebook story.
Tito's also a scary dude when he's training, so we'll say that. Main event, lastly, we've got Julius Blair, the monster of JB Comics, coming over here to battle against Jesse Halleck, who's also been a long time training, a partner of mine. To me, can no longer consider himself an amateur. Okay, Jesse, you can't. We've now put you on that pedestal, player. We've now raised you, okay, groomed you, if we will. So I think this is a good test for him. Obviously, Julius would be the favorite in this, but Julius is not someone who you see at practice every week. Julius is not someone who is been a competitive arm wrestler over the past year. He has a lot of experience. He is also someone who you can look up years of Eric Wolf and John Brezink and Dustin having practices, and young Julius right there in the back. Someone who is no stranger to strength. I mean, the dude just looks like a fridge. He's a house.
He's
massive.
A fridge.
He's you know, I'm interested for you guys to have a chat over the weekend just about kind of like your powerlifting meet and stuff like that. Yeah, because that's his realm. I mean, dude just picks up heavy shit. The dude is just a monster. And so I see in my head a lane where Jesse takes his hand and takes his hand and then still has to fight through that, because even though you take Julius's hand, it doesn't mean shit. You still now got to work through Julius's arm. But Jesse thinks he's strong, and he is. Jesse is a strong man.
Don't we all?
Right. But you got to test yourself, and I think Jesse has had I don't want to say, I won't use the word easy, but he's had a route to get to where he is at this point, where it's pretty much just been amateurs that are kind of around his level. I kind of either want to see him take a step up, or I want to see him take a step equal to where he's at. And although we would say equal, I mean, in my match with him, I won round 1 and then lost the last 2. And I believe that would go the same for you, correct?
Yeah, I don't know if he does that intentionally, or is he trying to
same thing.
maybe underestimates his opponents.
And I don't know if it's an underestimation or if it's, I'm going to go where you're strong and see where I do there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which I respect. I respect a lot of people, kind of what we were talking about earlier, how if there's money on the line or if it's something specific, I'm getting the match over and done with as fast as I can. But if not, kind of like with your Aaron match, you know, cool, hit into me. Let's find out what happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
like
that's kind of my whole
if
point.
we have money in the line, I'm not going to test you. I'm just going to win the money.
Right.
And what I'm curious about is me, Jesse, Alex, Lewis. We're all kind of in the same sort of weight class. We're all like 220, 230 around there. I just wonder where we're all at.
I'm getting there.
Yeah,
your boy weighed in last night at 220.2, the heaviest that I've ever weighed on a scale.
That's pretty big. I got up to maybe 231 the other day. It's like that's a little fat.
Yeah, trust me, I don't look my greatest, but I feel huge. I feel like a fridge. So I'm gonna keep going with this at least until my Martin match, and then before I have a heart attack, we'll see how it goes. But
exactly. I think when I get bigger, like 235 or something like that, I can't hit I can't hit really fast, but I can. I just feel like a fridge.
Right. I feel like an unstoppable force, a catching force, but I don't feel like an athlete, and I like feeling like an athlete.
Yeah. Dan Kramer says in the chat, "I'm coming for you all." LOL.
Who is that?
Danny Kramer says, "I'm coming for you all."
Yeah, Dan wants this right hand. I know he does. But so yeah, although I put that match on, and a lot of people say that they think Julius is the overwhelming favorite in this match, I think you're right. I think Julius is going to win this match, but I don't think it matters, because I don't think wins and losses matter so much in a lot of this. When surprising things that happen in a match matter way more to show you where someone's at, or to even show yourself where you're at. I'm really looking for Jesse to surprise himself, or to surprise a lot of these people. And, what if he does get a win, or what if he completely, shows that he's, got hand control, and that's all that matters. There's a million different scenarios that could happen, but the best way I look at it is like the match versus Miguel.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that second round, man, was nuts.
I think
so much fun to watch.
I don't know. Maybe a few people thought that Sid was going to win, but I think we all thought Miguel. We thought like, oh, Miguel's going to take it, easily. Not easily, but like he's going to, take it. But then Sid just did a King's move. All of a sudden, we're just like, what?
Well, and not only on the King's moves, but like when you look at all the trickery, the bullshit, and the gripping and the fouling and stuff like that, Miguel did not have control of Sid at really at any point. It wasn't really ever like Miguel was holding him to bleed him. It wasn't ever like he was holding him, right close to the pin pad for a long time. I mean, Miguel was pretty much struggling pretty much almost the entire match, which tells you Miguel had his hands full with an amateur wrestler that didn't know what he needed to do, to whether it was keep his elbow on the pad, move the right way, whatever it may be. But dude, we've said before, we all know Sid is like a year away from being ridiculous. Just because of his size, his stature, what he can do, his strength,
He's gifted for
background.
sure.
I mean, that's the reason he lost, was because he didn't have the experience. You know what I mean? I guess you could say. And so when you're someone like Sid, 300 pounds of pure man, you can jump straight to Miguel and just that be one of your very first super matches. You know what I mean? Which is just crazy to even think about. But, a learning experience nonetheless. All these matches. I have matches planned for June 4th that I'm really looking forward to as well. One of these guys out of Tucson wants to come down and arm wrestle Ben or Jake, whoever wins this match this coming weekend. So the winner of Ben and Jake has someone waiting for them out in Tucson.
Ooh.
Yeah, so we've lit a fire under a lot of these guys' ass, and Armtillery is going to try to continue to do that as long as I can, as long as we can. We're going to put on exciting matches. I'm not going to put on left-handed matches unless the masses come to us about it and they say, hey, this has to happen. But I look at it as like the top 10, top 5 are in Tim Talmadge's hands as far as getting these guys taken care of, matches paid, whatever, as being like the main promoter around here. Mm-hmm. But other than that, for me, I just plan on moving the rankings list. I plan on making it to where these guys look for a competitive space, an arena, a place to call people out, a place to test themselves, test each other, and why not put it on YouTube for everyone to see now that arm wrestling is at its peak as far as I'm concerned, of interest and views and all that. So,
well, it gets a lot of interest going, especially.
With that being said, I do appreciate you for having me on here to talk about all this and trying to push that, because you're in the same boat with me. I know you share that same passion. So,
well, I mean, I go back to when I was first interested in it, and I'm like, what the hell is arm wrestling? Like, what does a practice look like? And rankings, what is that? And how does that work? And,
Right.
From an outsider looking into, your matches and your, my live, and, they'll be like, oh man, this is awesome. I want to be a part of this. So it gets a lot of new guys interested, and it gives them that kind of the catalyst to get involved as well. And I mean, a lot of the Tucson guys, I feel like that's a little gray area. I feel like we only see them during tournaments. They do their thing, and then we just don't see them again.
Yeah.
And I really want to see how some of those guys do against some of us, especially Tony versus Miguel. That's a good one.
That's coming. I need to get both those guys, under the same roof at some point. But I know like Miguel has, Miguel has June 6th or something, June 4th. I think it's Mexican Nationals. And then June 4th, I had playing an event here similar to the May 21st one that Tucson guys were coming down for. So Bustamante was planning on coming down. Brett was planning on coming down. I'm trying to get Leo to come down, trying to get these guys to have a practice with us. And while they're down here, to get them some matches. And I think that depending on how competitive those end up being, we could see that happen a lot more often from what you're saying. And another reason why I started this thing, they have Gorilla Arms YouTube channel. Greg Brown has his Halo channel. The only reason that these practices are not being shown is because they're not being filmed. They're probably happening. A lot of them are happening. A lot of these people are having practices. They're probably still training as hard as we are down in Tucson.
Of
Although I
course
will
they are.
say, based on what I've seen, we got something for that ass, though, man. I mean, we're getting there. We're because I'll say this. I made a video about this on my Armtillery channel a year ago at the first Arizona Arm Wrestling Championship. Those guys came in and wiped the floor with us, with Phoenix guys. We didn't even look like we stood a chance.
We were all new at that point.
And we didn't know what we were doing. And now, years later, how the landscape has changed, how we have come up out of that, and now not only competitive, but we look at those guys as brothers, just the same. I look at everyone the same in Arizona. I look at you as a training partner and a brother until you're across the table from me, and then I'm going to try to rip your fucking arm off. So that's all it is. And I love those guys down there. Chris Back, Steven Olmstead, who hasn't been around a whole lot, but shout out to him. A lot of those guys, when I very first started, had a lot of good advice, a lot of good information for me, nothing but good vibes. So I always hold it down for those guys. I always got for those guys. And if you see these videos, Gorilla Arms, please reach out to me and let's get you a match slated, done, over with, confirmed for the 18th of June or forward going on, because that's what the next openings I have. Some of you I already have down for the 4th. Like, I believe, I don't want to confirm this, but Bustamante might have a match with Colin Hart. So I don't know how familiar you are with Colin Hart, Ed, but someone I have a loss to, someone who's been in the arm wrestling scene for a long time, but once again, not really super competitive as of consistently. And apparently they've gripped up before, but Bustamante the test, someone around his weight. But all the guys that are around his weight to me are kind of under his experience level, or way above his experience level. So this was kind of the get for him if I could do that. So, but yeah, like I said, nothing but love for those Gorilla Arm guys. And if you guys want a match, please reach out to me. And the reason I started doing all this in the first place really was Greg Brown. Greg Brown posted those rankings.
Oh, for sure.
And when he did, it kind of not only pissed a lot of people off, but then reminded a lot of people to be like, oh, I don't even care where I'm at. Just put me at the bottom. Like, I just want to be on the list, period. You know what I mean? So to me, if you have guys that are that interested saying, hey, I don't even give a fuck where I'm at, just put me on the list. Well, then let's have some validity to it. Let's have some organization to it. It doesn't have to all be on one person. I feel like a lot of people, Dustin Allen being one of them in the past, have tried a ranking system and it just didn't get support from other people. And it felt like it was all on one person, which is overwhelming when you've got your own job, your own family, your own kid, your own dog. So there's no, I want it to be a team thing. I want as many hands that want to get involved in this thing to reach out to me and let's do it. Ed was the very first person that reached out to me about getting on lives, whether he could live stream the things, whether we could live stream these. He has the unique advantage of being able to do that. So absolutely. I want everyone to play their part in this to try to move Arizona arm wrestling in the right direction. And as long as it's good vibes, and I mean, I'm all for it. So that's the way I see it.
Well, big props to Greg for starting this whole thing. I know it fell all on Dustin to do it, and the dude's got his own business. I mean, it's a pain in the ass to do all this stuff, and when you don't have the support, it's going to be a pain in the ass. I mean, I wouldn't want to do it, but hopefully this ranking thing it gets organized by weight, so I don't have to look at trying to challenge Dustin Allen or something like that. I don't want to do that.
Now, have I told you that I have organized that list by weight and then sent it to Greg?
Nice.
So based on those matches at Arizona State and matches that have taken place prior to Miguel and Sid, because I had sent it to him before that match ever happened, I took that list apart because this is the way I look at it. And this is no offense to Greg or anybody, but that list, it was made up out of opinion.
Yeah, it was entirely opinion.
So
because
then
we were
what opinion?
telling him, oh, I think I should be 15, or hey, Ed Sid, I think
Right,
he's
right,
at
right,
whatever.
right. So I took those opinions and I basically organized them and by weight and who fed what. The only sticky thing with that, a lot of us, like you and me being some of them, fluctuate weight. So, where do we want to be? Do we want to be ranked in the weight class in which we compete at, class in which we walk around at? Because then it kind of gives the illusion that all these matches giving or making need to be like people need to beforehand, which I don't really want that. You know what I mean?
Hmm. So what's your opinion
So
on, let's say, you got a guy that's like 225, but he competes in tournaments at 205.
okay.
So where would you rank them at 205 or 232?
Yeah, it's kind of the whole deal. Is you should be ranked as where you compete.
I agree with that. Yeah,
I mean, that's my opinion, because
I think that's the simplest thing to do, really.
here's another look at it. We know a lot of people that arm wrestle, that we arm wrestle with, that would have killed at Arizona State, never win. So it's kind of like they're the best garage back arm wrestler.
Hmm.
Does that mean anything? Does it matter? You know what I mean? What matters is when you get on that stage and when you perform and how that goes. And in my opinion, the weight that you step on for that is the weight that you're looked at, especially on like grand scale of things. When you look at the elite, what's considered a 165er to 160. I mean, that's pretty much where he competes. But the dude clearly walks around at probably 180, 185. You know what I mean? So you don't see him getting matches with dudes that are, in the one. I don't know. Just the way I look at it, I guess there is controversy to all that, and wouldn't be opposed to seeing any of it switching up. I don't really feel super passionate about one way. That would be the way I would envision it. If you compete at a certain weight, that's the weight you get recognized for. So
I agree with it. I mean, it's definitely it can get really complicated. I mean, especially if my fat ass is at 230, I'm like, oh, but I'm a 205 guy. It's like, dude, what are you talking about?
well, and I can for someone like you, that's a great example. I can guarantee you your rank at 205 than it would be in the 230s. So wouldn't you prefer your 205 rank if it's like third,
Yeah.
13th in the 230s?
Well, the guys
So
who compete at
people cut weight.
232, they weigh 250.
Exactly. And that's exactly what I'm saying. That's why people cut weight. So
I mean, when you go to the early weigh-ins for the tournament, there's like 50 fucking people there. So it
oh
just goes
yeah,
to
dude.
show you if you're not trying to cut weight at some point, or you're doing yourself a disservice, kind of.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? That's funny. We should talk about that. Let's talk about our weight cuts on here and how those went since we
Oh man,
kind
that
of
was
went
that was awesome.
through yeah, talk about that. So I'll give you my little after you personally, but I had called out Chris Beck actually in mid-March to have a match
Mm.
for the state championships, and um, he had told me yes, and when he did, he told me I don't care where you're at. He said come in at 220, it doesn't matter, and I was pretty in my way to getting at that weight, to being at 220, and had never been at that weight before. So is 220 to 205 a big weight cut? No, I'm going to sit here and act like it's a huge weight cut, okay? But it is when you're doing everything your possibility to that weight at 220 just a few weeks prior. I pro shakes before I go to bed, eating an extra meal a day, shoving shit in my face. I mean, I have such a high metabolism, reaching 220 is not easy for me, as big and heavy as I could. So I am wrecking myself to try to get there. And it comes to where he says, hey, I'm not confident that I'm going to be able to commit to this match. And I told him, I said, no worries, figure it out. When I did, it was like April 3rd. I had like 20 days to completely reverse Ed done and go from eating candy bars and protein shakes before I go to bed to a strictly chicken and a little bit of rice diet for the next 20 days. The sauna for 20 minutes every night. I had just ran a mile in basketball leggings, sweatpants, a sweat wrap with sweet sweat on, hoodie, and a fucking beanie. That was my nightly routine for 19 fucking days as I ate little to nothing, drank little to nothing to try to make 204 a day before I drove down, because I knew I wasn't going to. I knew I was going to weigh in the day of the event, and I knew that was going to be at my demise. So I had Pedialyte, I had cake pops, I had chicken in a dinner for like when I stepped off the scale. Got off the scale and just drove to Five Guys, got the biggest double cheese bacon burger that I had been dreaming of like 21 days with a fat Coke. I mean, I had to document it because it meant so much to me. I did it. I was very proud of myself. After it was all said and done, I told myself I would never do that. Much rather just arm wrestle the heavier guys.
And then what are we going to do? We're going to do it again, aren't we?
100%. Gonna fucking kill ourselves.
So what I basically did is I kind of messed myself up. I did keto for 2 months because I started off at like 228, and then did keto for 2 months. 1 month goes by, I'm like, fuck this. I gave up, and I was at 211. I went from 211 to 215, and then someone convinced me to do it again. So then I barely made weight. And then I almost passed out in the sauna. I bought myself a sauna suit, and then I put it on, and I went into the sauna with the sauna suit, and then I almost like passed out, and I had to take the sauna suit off. So and then I messed. I did a water
So glad I
load
did not
the
do
week
this alone.
of, and I even messed up my water load. Nothing really made too much sense.
Oh, I'm glad I did not go through this alone. Yeah, dude, the sweet sweat with the sweat wrap and the sweater and everything. Oh my god, dude. I felt like I was overdoing it until I made weight, and then I was like, well, I guess I needed to do that because it worked out.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was just it got to the point where I wasn't even like, I was battling just sitting and getting through that every day. I wasn't getting stronger. I wasn't worried about arm wrestling as much. It was way too much focus on the weight, which I just didn't
Mhm.
like. So, you know, you did it way smarter months out, where you had time to think about it. I had this goal
I,
of gaining all this weight, up to, and I thought that was going to be from now on. I was just going to be a heavy 220 guy, or would have to, and I didn't even think about, if it doesn't, then you're going to be right in the middle of a really shitty weight class. In retrospect, it
yeah.
wouldn't have been so bad when we look at it, but definitely want to be in the tournament where you're planning on waves, planning on showing out, planning on really showing what you've trained for. So it worked out.
Yeah, and it would.
It all worked out for the best.
Who ended up winning the 232 amateurs? Because I think Alex competed in supers.
I mean, it would have had Nathan.
Yeah, right, Nathan. I'll have to go to Corey Miller's
I
thing.
don't remember, because I know I know he placed, but I don't know won. But yeah, because Nathan beat Tito. There was this one guy. No, he pulled amateurs. I think he pulled pros. Yeah, so that's who it would have been. Would have been Nathan probably. Nathan or Alex, but I think Alex pulled 232 pluses, so supers.
All right, here we go. I got the brackets up. All right, we got amateurs. All right, we got amateurs
I was gonna
232
say,
left. Greg Brown won that one.
yes,
And 232 right amateurs, Nathan Brown won.
sounds about right.
And then in third place was Kevin Brault, the guy who we competed against.
Yeah, that's why I told you what I said. I was like, we would have definitely placed in that bracket had we have even competed one more.
Mhm.
But, I think you and me had the same mentality going into this, and I wanted to focus on one weight class. I wanted to dominate that weight class, do as best as I could, and make my name for myself in that showing. But I had this fucking dude in my way, asshole.
Shit, man, we're almost talking for almost an hour. All right, okay. So on the topic of Arizona arm wrestlers, what do you think the most promising newer poolers are, or like maybe like a year or something like that, from your experience?
Well, I think you can't help but deny, or you can't deny the fact that Jake is someone who we're talking about seems interested, seems obsessed enough in the sport that he could really do some things. He could really make some waves. He also kind of to me seems like he could be on that unique swinging between two kind of weight classes. I don't know exactly what his weight is, but he doesn't look like he could.
Mm-hmm.
He looks like he could put some weight on and go up weight class. So he could have quite a few arms at his disposal in the next year if he really gets good and really focuses. So I like him. Just arm wrestling with and kind of going through a little training last week with a younger guy, 16 years old, named Saya. Okay. And I love this. Okay. I love seeing someone super young in the sport. Tell me about Devin Laird. Tell me about YouTube and all this kind of stuff, how he's arm wrestling his buddies in the cafeteria with what he's learned off YouTube and stuff. And I meet with this guy for time, and he's super interested and curious, and he wants to try everything and to do everything. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, this is it. This is the wave. This is what we want. We want the younger generation to this, like we did at 28, 27 years old. You know what I mean? And he's telling me he's got a 24-year-old brother that he wants to bring that's interested. He's going to bring him on the 21st to practice. He's talking about he's got a cafeteria full of kids that he's trying to convince that he wants to. Yeah, I'm like, man, all in due time, but this is it. This is great. Let's say a good trajectory for these kids to do the promoting for us. You know what I mean? I know that I was not even worried or thinking about arm wrestling when I was 16. Was it around? Absolutely. But it wasn't even on my radar. So the fact that was, to me, I thought was really cool and exciting for me. Who else? Newbies. We don't really see a lot of new guys, or at least I don't a whole lot. You're familiar with Chemo, right?
Chemo, yeah, he lives in Mesa, and I only see him during the tournaments. And I don't know, I didn't really talk to him. Did you get to talk to him?
I talked to him a little bit. I talk to him a little bit every time I see him because he's the homie. I invite him to everything. But once again, I said he doesn't come around too often. But when you want to talk about potential and someone who's just made for the sport, the dude's hand and is just ridiculously strong. hasn't. I think he's barely been arm wrestling like over a year, maybe a year. He's already competing in those and getting high level dudes some troubles with his hands. I think it's his technique that needs some work, but there's no question the dude has the raw talent and the horsepower to compete with the best in this state right now. If he were just to take it seriously. Once again, don't know his financial situation, if he's got a good job, what he does, if he's got a kid, all that kind of stuff, because I barely get to talk to him too often. But, you know, when you talk about potentials and someone who just wreck and a huge wrench in the game, I would definitely throw his name in there. You know what I mean? Sid, obviously, I mean, the guy
Yeah,
after
Kimo competed, Kimo Kawai, I guess his last name is, competed Pro 233 plus, right? He did get a win on somebody.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't, when he's to the table, he doesn't look like he knows what he's doing. It's all raw horsepower.
Yeah, he got 2 wins.
You know what I mean? And to be able to do that in a pro bracket tells you the dude, I mean, kind of like Marcus Atirai, he just looks like a massive Samoan dude that you're like, yeah, I want to teach you how to arm wrestle. Again, Sid, like we said, how could you deny the guy?
Of course, Sid. I mean, everyone agrees with Sid.
Yeah.
For me, it would be, of course, Sid. I like Jake because he seems like a more, he's like just like you. He's more of a thinking man. He's more on the intelligent side. He's like thinking through like, this is how I'm going to strategize this and things like that. And that's a lot of the better guys, like a lot of the stronger guys, they're missing that aspect. But also, I think Rad Rob, as you call him, I think he's also promising, especially on left hand.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've seen him get wins on Ron left-handed.
What? Ron the King?
Granted, this is after Ron had like only used his left hand. He's arm wrestling only left-handed last practice I just had. Multiple people. He's probably very tired, but Ron is sitting there getting flash pinned by Robert with his left. Am I watching this correctly? What the hell? But once again, that's why I say if Rob can get in his lane, it's not so strong Rob is, which he is. He's an extremely strong human. But his explosiveness and where he goes is just you don't most people don't go there and are afraid to go there. You know what I mean? Shoulder commitment, total dive in, risk the elbow, all in the ulnar.
Yeah,
I mean,
Robert is definitely not afraid of going that route.
No, test your frame all the way, 100%.
All right, we got some chats we gotta go over. So Robert, Rad Rob himself, says no. Ron King was gassed, which I disagree with, and I'm gonna say that he's better than Ron King now. If you beat someone at practice, that means you're better.
100%. Hermes Gasparini, practice of the world. Like I said, it doesn't matter because Ron is so goddamn strong that even a gas Ron is impressive. So we appreciate your humility, Rad Rob. But I was just going to show you your left is sick.
And we got a chat from Dan Ames. You remember Dan, tall guy?
Yeah.
We got so he says, Balkan, you have improved over the last several months. You are a killer. How has your training and practice regimen changed? So I've been training with a guy named Wasim. I go to a gym called Liberty Performance in Phoenix, and we he's helped me like structure out. Basically, kind of what he did was when you have a training partner, you know how like you push each other, and I think that's just like when me and John trained. Like we're like feeding off of each other, and I'm like, okay, let's get in the straps. I want to practice this. I want to do defensive top roll, things like that. So I think that was what's really missing in my training and was missing in my training. and is missing in a lot of people's training, where they have that instant feedback of like, oh, you have an idea in your head and you want to apply it, but you don't have anybody to do that with.
Right. And so I want to touch on that point before you go into the other comments. It's very important, like you said, about how you get introduced, or like I was talking about earlier, about how you get introduced to this sport. When I was introduced to the sport, what I was told in the first 6 months is every single Saturday, just go rip your arm off. Go to this practice, red line with every dude you can, and you're going to get stronger and you're going to get better at arm wrestling. And it led me directly into a minor tear in my pronator, to the point where I could barely lift weights. I couldn't definitely go to arm wrestling. I couldn't do anything. So I had to take a 3-4 month period off because of that style of practicing. And I think a lot of guys get introduced to that style of arm wrestling and it fucks them up. It fucks their tendons up, doesn't get interested in the sport. It doesn't get them to see what you could do. And for you being the greatest example from what you were just talking about, someone who has a powerlifting background, strength sports like wrestling and football, there's no question when you went into this sport, you were a strong human. You had a strength background. But if you're going to keep spinning your wheels, so to say, by not training the correct way and finding what works for you in the style of training for you, then that's what you're doing. You're running on a treadmill. You're not getting anywhere. You're keep being the strong guy that doesn't know how to arm wrestle. And I know so many of them. For a long time, Chris Back was one of them. I mean, you can ask him. For a long time, he's this huge, massive jack dude that was only good in the straps because of how strong he was. And then I don't know also what happened with his style of training, but he became much more involved in learning things about the hand and the wrist and pronating and supinating and hooking and this and shit. And then the dude just becomes a world killer. He starts dropping everybody. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there's a click that happens with everybody, and especially the people who come into this sport strong. I would love to see that click happen prior to them having to go the long route. Kind of like I felt like I did. I felt like I went the long route before I found what worked for me. You know what I mean? So it's funny you say that.
Yeah, I'm gonna share Chris Back's channel in the chat. One thing I do know about Chris is like when I was looking at his like YouTube stuff, is that like you can kind of see like a progression of like, okay, I'm powerlifting, then I'm doing more specific stuff, and at some point he started training with Reza. I'm gonna say his last name.
Good luck.
Delmagagian.
Yeah.
And so he was paying him for his training, which is if I were to give advice to someone that's new who has the funds, just pay someone. Just pay someone to structure out your program. If you can meet them in person, even better. You either pay with your time or you pay with your money. So why would you go through the trial and error and waste all this time when you can pay someone I don't know, $25 a week or something like that, and he'll tell you exactly what to do. So that's just
Right.
my line of thinking, but you're absolutely right. I mean, going to practice and just going ham and hurting each other, that's probably the stupidest thing I've ever heard about. Where I go to certain practices and they're kind of doing that, and I'm like, dude, you guys are retarded. I don't want to do this.
You see it way too often. I mean, and it's not just Arizona. I see it happen in California. I see it happen over in Florida. I see it happen in a ton of these practices where it's an ego lift, it's an ego boost, it's a hey, who can I pin today? Although that is well and needed for some particular practice, some particular situations, I was doing it every Saturday. Like I was self, and it was not healthy for the human anatomy. And was I learning things? Absolutely, but I could have been learning in a more efficient way. And I think that's basically what you're saying. In a time like with all the information at your disposal, why go about it the old school way when it's not the best way. It's not the best way to do things now. So
Yeah. And like when
what else we got
people
in the
go to
chats?
practice and shoot, let's see. Robert says, "Yeah, I need to upgrade my IQ for sure. Even when I was climbing full time, I never cared about technique." All right, let's see what else we got. We got 5 people in the chat still. We got Robert. We got Dan Ames. We got Dan Kramer here. We got a guy from Finland. I don't know how he found my channel, but here we are. Shout out to Finland.
If you love arm wrestling,
And his name, I think, is pronounced Yer Antilla. And he asks us, what is our upcoming tournaments? I know for me, it's going to be December for Washington State. I'm going to be competing in the pro class. And so I want some time to kind of work on the whole rankings thing and just see where I'm at and kind of work on my strength before I get fed to the wolves. What about you, John?
yeah. Yeah, I think I'd have to agree with that. I won't be competing in the pro unless from now until then I wipe the ground with some local pros or someone in my hands on, which I don't foresee happening. I am somebody who I have a lot of patience in this game. I don't foresee myself rushing things, particularly just because of injuries, and not because I'm injured, but that everyone's going to come with them at some point, whatever it may be. I want to make sure that I'm taking care of my body at this stage of my life. I think, when I know that I've only got 5-10 years left of arm wrestling, I'm going at it. I'm fucking letting the balls to the wall. But for right now, I've really enjoyed, this training process of arm wrestling, taking it serious from a training perspective, like you said, writing out a regiment, being disciplined on yourself, and listening to your body. And to me, it's really, really important in this sport to listen to you and to feed it what it needs. So I'm going to be probably holding off until December. I have a trip in Vegas that's going to be the end of June going to early July, and late June, early July. Yeah, it's for my birthday, and I would like to try to go and meet up with crew out there in Vegas if they're going to be having a practice throughout the week. I'd love to try to get out there and try to grip up, because I know Vegas has a lot of strong guys down with Filthy Pepper, Mason McCandless, Latona, all those guys. So I don't know necessarily, but I want to try to get down to them when I go down to late June. Other than that, I really don't have any arm wrestling plans, other than really pushing the local scene. I've said it a few times with a few different people. I think after Arizona State and what's happened, we have the unique opportunity to really get our face on YouTube, show people that Arizona has consistent, talented arm wrestlers. It just doesn't get the chance to be shown and showcased very often. So I think the more and more you see that, the more and more that landscape might change. And the best example I use is like Artem and Brandon Morris and Chance Shaw down in Florida. Those guys, walk into a Fry's and they're a nobody to 90% of the people. But then you and me see them and they're like celebrities to one of us. You know what I mean? So I would love that for Arizona guys. I would love for Dustin Allen and Wayne Arsenault and Miguel and Ron King and these guys who are crazy fucking strong to be looked at as celebrities amongst YouTube. I don't know if Arizona is like if you were to ask the top guy from Florida who the number one guy in Arizona is, who would he say? What do you think his answer would be? Do you think he would even know Wayne exists?
So I've asked in different states, I've asked, well, what do you know about Arizona pullers and stuff like that? They said, oh, I know Dustin Allen. They always say, like, I know Dustin Allen. I know Dustin Allen's good. He had a match with Chance, and then that's, we kind of know him before then too. But Wayne hasn't been too active, and not a lot of people know about Wayne. Wayne's kind of like an introvert. So I think that, he did have a recent injury at Washington State where he dislocated his elbow, but
and if I'm honest with you, prior to that, I think that was kind of like his trajectory to show out. I think had got injured and would have had a nice showing there, we would have seen a different outcome. But it happens to all of us. So.
For sure, yeah. He was a favorite to win, for sure. I think when I was listening to other live arm wrestling stuff, they were all like, "Oh, Wayne's the favorite," and someone's like, "Who's Wayne?"
Which is funny you say
uh,
that, because like what we're saying is so many people, we don't even know that they know his name, but then all of a sudden he's the favorite. To me, that
mhm.
tells you that Arizona is so under the radar, so good, but no one knows how good they are. You know what I mean? So to me, we just we changed that. It's easy. Camera, and it's a channel, and that's all it is.
We'll do it. All right, man. Let's wrap this thing up. So your channel is Armtillery. I'll put it in the chat.
Yes.
So what is you kind of covered a little bit. What's your future plans with Armtillery? Like, what are you trying to do with that channel?
Yeah, so it's not like, so for example, I've been asked this a lot, as far as if I want to be in a team, or if Armtillery is a team. And this is the way I look at this, and I'll say this on here. I don't think that arm wrestling is a team sport by any means. Is it nice to have training partners? Absolutely. And a lot of us have training partners that are more accessible than others. You don't see it as often, and the ones that are more accessible, you seem to call your number one teammate or number one training partner, until that guy is the same fucking weight as you at the tournament. And then all of a sudden he's not on your team anymore, is he? Or
Hmm.
you're not gonna, okay, here, go ahead and lightly lay my arm down because you're my teammate, not because I think you can beat me. That's just not gonna fly. That's not gonna happen. You know what I mean? So to me, it's all well, nice and dandy, if that's what you. Um, but other than that, I think it's really just about you and how you do in the sport. Artillery is going to be to get some merch out here soon. I want to do shirts. Other than that, it's arm wrestling. It's Arizona arm wrestling. It's
And he cuts out. Looks like Python's John. His network connection is not too good right now. We'll give it a minute. And there he goes. Well, that might be it, fellas. As far as the stream, I was going to give a shout out to Doobie Snacks for sponsoring the upcoming event. I'll put a link into his Instagram. Let me see here. But does anyone have any questions? Oh, Python John's joining us. Any last departing questions for Arizona Arm Wrestling?
Can you see me?
Yeah, I see you. I thought you ran out of internet there.
No, my dad was pulling up to drop something off, and I think he called me, and it may have kicked me out. So, but I mean, we
I
can
was just
wrap this
giving a
up.
I was just giving a shout out to Doobie Snacks.
Oh, hell yeah.
Dude, oh yeah, tell the viewers, tell all 4 viewers here how you got started in Doobie Snacks. Like, what is Doobie Snacks and all that stuff?
Give me
Tell
2
us.
seconds. 1 second. 1 second.
All right, show us the product, yo.
Okay.
All right.
All right. I'm sorry. Okay. So, Doobie Snacks is a small edible company out of Arizona that started about 6-7 years ago. And it's not just, we do everything. We do all baked goods except for cakes. So the way this whole thing started was I met my wonderful, lovely lady, Monique, about 7-8 years ago. And when I did, we met at a gym where I was personal training. And the way we met is she would always bring in baked goods, cookies, cupcakes, all this shit to the training staff at the gym that she worked out at and that I worked at. It was UFIT in Scottsdale. And I hit on her, stalked her, found out that I was the luckiest man alive. We've been together ever since. But, you know, basically at the time I was on my way. This is before recreational marijuana, but right when medical marijuana was at its peak in Arizona. And I was transitioning from being a personal trainer to going into the medical marijuana field. I had a pretty good gig lined up to be a photographer, an inventory manager, and a bud tender for one of the dispensaries down the road from my house. So I end up getting that gig. This whole time, Mo has been a baker for different companies, for herself, doing gigs. She had her own hashtag on Instagram, all this kind of stuff, but just kind of doing it for the fun of it. So we come up with idea to reach to this dispensary and say, hey, I would love to use the kitchen that you guys have, and we have this product that we want to present, all this kind of stuff. Well, because of the red tape at the time in the medical marijuana industry, we weren't able to make it work. So we kind of backed out and started just kind of focusing on what we could do to make it the biggest and the best for when it was time to come, time to. And for about 5-6 years, we've kind of created this product. It's essentially a cake pop, but it's not a cake pop because we took the stick out. So it is considered a cake truffle. Okay, a cake truffle that is dipped in chocolate and then topped with an array of different things. Okay, and it has become immensely popular amongst just caterings, events, smaller, bite-sized type foods. This fits in literally perfect. We have over 80 different flavors of these cake truffles. Everything from oatmeal cream pie to Oreo to pink champagne to Malibu pineapple. I mean, this is awesome. This strawberry milkshake there is the one right closest to you. Then you've got some of our mason jar cheesecakes on there. So all I knew was that I had to take advantage of this extremely talented lady that I worked and lived with, and that her baking talent was going, underestimated. It was going unnoticed. And I knew that there was a niche for this kind of stuff. So we started to create that product, started to try to get it out there. And now since we have, it has just blown up. It's gotten us to the point where we want to do this full time. It's all we want to do. I want to see Mo get the recognition that she deserves she's been a baker over 10 years, and it's not easy work. It's hard work. You put out, anywhere from 500 truffles every 2 weeks, and it's pretty much all her. I do some very small detailed work, but it's pretty much all her, So with my background in business and selling and the things that I've done, I wanted to try to play my part in doing this. And so over the last year, we've tried to touch different markets, try to get out to different places, really try to perfect our product and narrow it down to a menu that we feel confident and comfortable with. And man, I am blessed and super, super happy to do what I love for a living with my significant other. And so that's just the goal, man, is to try to sell as many cake truffles as possible, get as many people to know about it as possible. And you'd be super surprised to know how much you can charge for a cake.
Oh, especially a wedding cake.
Yeah, dude, it's nuts. You, I say that because Mo specifically did not want to do cakes. She did not. She doesn't enjoy it. She doesn't take. She doesn't have a fulfillment and enjoyment in doing those big, long, huge products. Although that is where the money is.
Yeah.
And it showed me, Mo cares about baking. She cares about the taste. She cares about the presentation of it all. And everyone has their niche in what they do in this. So, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to share that.
Of course. Is there going to be some samples during
Oh,
this Saturday?
always, always. I have a literal deep freeze filled
Mm.
with doobie snacks. I will always have some. It's my business now, so I always have some. Please reach out to us for a special order if you guys want to put in a special order at all. We do mason jar cheesecakes, we do cake truffles, we do cookies, we do mini cookies, we do it all. Cinnamon rolls. Yes, please go to Doobie Snacks, click that follow button. Shout out to Legendary Balkan. We'll get you 10% off.
There you go. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. As far as the East versus West, it looks like it's at like 10 a.m.
Okay. Okay, cool. So then
So
we should be able to hopefully watch and talk about all that stuff by the time everyone comes over then. Like
perfect.
rewatch, you know what I mean? So
Sweet, man. I appreciate you doing it live with me.
hell yeah,
This
dude,
was,
it was a
this was
success.
pretty fun.
Hopefully we can do it again, and we'll kind of promote it and get everyone on the same page about it. And I want to eventually get Armtillery to a point where I can start doing interviews similar to this, the arm wrestlers that have matches coming up soon. So like a Jake and a Ben, maybe get them on the same one and kind of like have a talk about that kind of stuff. So this is
Yeah.
just the beginning, man, and I appreciate you kind of showing me how to do it all and make it all work. And
Yeah, this Restream website is pretty legit.
yeah,
I
I
like it.
definitely.
It's a little bit cooler than the Zoom chat because I mean you can kind of like share your screen and stuff like that a little bit easier.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be able to see a lot more from a user standpoint, but I'm gonna try to research
Yeah.
it and see as well. But thanks again, brother. I appreciate you.
Alrighty, guys. All right, have a good
5
day.
p.m. Saturday. Be there.
5 p.m.
Reach out to me or Ed for the address if you guys are going to be there.
All right, later, guys.